It's Monday and time for the Back to Business podcast, featuring Calgary's industry leaders. Welcome today's show host, Kim Hayden.
As the saying goes, necessity is the mother of all invention. Let me ask you this. What would you invent if you felt that there was a necessary cause that you needed to lead? Our guest today, Zulfairah Politava, is here to talk about her evolution as an immigrant woman, entrepreneur in Canada. What is she bringing to the table, and how is she creating a roadmap that other women can follow? But first, our land acknowledgement.
In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Ga'aina, Piikani, the Tsutena, the Eahe Nakota Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta.
All right, we're showing some love to ourselves and our fellow sisters out there working today and working to move forward. And who better to have in studio than the gorgeous Zulfairah? I am super, super stoked to dive into a bit of what you're doing. But let's start off first. Give us a little bit of background as to who you are.
Thank you, Kim. It's my pleasure to be on this podcast. I'm Zulfairah. I'm a woman who went through different challenges in my life, and they defined who I am today. So I would say it's a journey of resilience. I am an immigrant woman who immigrated to Canada 10 years ago. Straight to Calgary. So Calgary is my hometown now. However, it all started back in 2007 when I was one of the researchers who went to North America because I won a scholarship to do my research, and I was one of 6 people chosen out of 2,000 people to get my graduate degree in, and it was Master's in Public Administration. However, let me go back onto what made me so resilient. Actually not a very happy story. I had my mom diagnosed with cancer early on, and I was just 13 years old when I first learned about her disease. And since then, up to during 10 years, these were years of fighting for her life, and I think that made me resilient. But she was a great role model. She was so optimistic. She was full of life, and I've learned a lot from her. So when I was just 23, unfortunately, I lost her. And since then, I realized that being self-reliant and motivated to continue life and remembering the lessons I've learned from her defined my journey thereafter. So I've been always on the forefront to, helping the communities when we had, non-profits were non-existent throughout, I've been born and raised in Tajikistan, which is a small country, which was a part of Soviet bloc countries before. And so after Soviet Union collapsed, we were transitioning to market economy. And at the same time, we had a movement of nonprofit organizations making the way. And we had international development movement and some humanitarian aid that in foreign countries would help us to go on to the journey of democracy and building market economy. So I was in the right place and the right time, I would like to say, because my first degree is an English language, and I learned it, and I was able to use it first for being interpreters for those interesting projects, and then I've got the roles in projects, doing trainings, facilitations, going to rural remote communities to build, to educate them about how to start the business. And interestingly enough, now, many, many years later, it's all connected. All the dots got connected, and I'm finally in the place where I'm supposed to be, combining my work with different sectors. Public, like after Masters of Public Administration, learning how to work inside the nonprofits, but then always being entrepreneurial and looking for innovative ways to solve community challenges, brought me to where I am today. I'm a business owner of a management consulting firm.
And that's Connect Local and Global Inc.,
That's
correct?
right.
Okay, so
yes.
walk us through that. So that's an opportunity. So as you said, the culmination of everything coming in, and it sounds as if you are actually, you've learned from the gaps within the system to become the person that fills those in. Is that a correct analogy?
I want to think about myself as a resourceful person for sure, and that's how we define entrepreneurs, right? We do what we can with the limited resources we have on hand. So when I came to Calgary as an immigrant professional who scored high on all, like language and years of work experience and all of other things that you need to have to immigrate as a skilled professional. I came here with 2 master degrees in public administration and social work. Yes, and a business consultant certificate. So, I've spent a few years in North America to learn and study. And then when I came here, I thought I'm ready to go professional. I will just continue my North American journey. However, that wasn't a reality. I did not know anyone here, and I immigrated with my family, my husband and 3 children, 3 boys, and we had to start everything from scratch. We did not know anyone here, and we had to build our own network and community. So we started looking for jobs, as all immigrants usually do. And I was able to secure a job with my social worker background. However, I felt that there was so much potential that I'm not utilizing, that I'm not providing as like the greater impact that I was seeing, that I can make in the community. So
how many women do you think, like yourself, are sitting there right now here in Calgary? What do you think the percentage of new Canadian women are feeling that their potential or their education is being underutilized?
Oh, that's, I would say maybe 99%, because with the different streams of immigration, if you look into even professional streams, women come here and they still need some time to learn how the system works. And while they're learning, while they're building their network, they feel that they are not using their full potential. They feel that nobody knows them, nobody trusts them, and they need to show who they are. So, and that will lead me to the movement that I've created a year after establishing Connect Local and Global. However, just to give a justice that I've opened my first business here in Canada as a management consultant. So
yes, and you said that in that, the management consulting and training, that you'll do everything from nonprofit to government to businesses, like for-profit.
Correct.
So what does, I am curious, when you say management consultant and training, what does that entail? What do you do?
Yeah, thank you, Kim. So it all started with my journey. As I said, I worked I worked for a local nonprofit, and then I realized that we are not telling enough about this, like the impact that the organization is making. And we need to tell the impact story with data. And that's what I was doing working for international projects before. However, here I realized that many nonprofits are not creating those measurement systems from scratch, or when they start the projects, it's an afterthought in many many times. And then they're looking for someone to evaluate the project and write the report to the donor. So, however, I saw that gap and I started talking to executive directors of the different nonprofits that I knew at the time. And I was suggesting that this system, if it's built from scratch in their organization, and we discuss how to collect data, we will be able to talk about the impact story, and we will be able, like the organizations, after all, will be able to fundraise more money because donors or governments, they do care about the impact and not just the numbers of people who attended the workshops, let's say. So that's how it all started at Connect. And then later on, as we were providing these services, mostly myself as a principal consultant, I realized that it's a lot connected to change management, to how people inside the organizations are perceiving this impact management. And so since then, we started offering other services and trainings. So if you go on our website, it talks more about what kind of training and consulting we provide.
That's well, and that gives you kind of a front row seat as to what the environment is. So we see generationally, we see things that can be impacted by, for example, like the pandemic, and these shift. So I know that generationally, timelines and things that impact like the pandemic, we see shifts in the way that work should be portrayed. But I totally get the not, a lot of nonprofits will start from a passion point and
That's
not
right.
the numbers, or they won't have the hard data.
Yeah.
So I love how you're bringing both sides together. But again, that leads you into where your passion project is. Mm-hmm. And when we look at WeCan, so I did have a question here. Mm-hmm. For women coming to Canada, and a lot of them are sitting underutilized. They feel that they're being underutilized for what their capacity or abilities are, which I totally understand, because I've been to several different events for new Canadian women, and there seems to still be a gap. We have a gap in gender equality anyway, right? That's a global thing. Canada's not immune, but is it compounded when we look at the immigration aspect? When we look at the new Canadian aspect, is this then compounded?
Certainly. So the intersection of gender, ethnicity, race, age, everything matters, and every individual's journey is different, right? And there are different barriers and challenges people face, and women especially, because they come from different cultures. It's also not only to continue being a professional here, but also learning the cultural norms here, and sometimes overcoming the challenges of getting used to do things the certain way. But here, observing is your best tool. As you come to a new country, new city, you always get to observe and then apply what you bring to the community. So to answer your question, I've got, as we were working with Connect Local and Global, and looking at different impacts that different organizations are already doing here, I started thinking more and more about the role of woman entrepreneur, as myself has been going through this journey with Connect, and I wanted to share the message that if you came with lots of experience and educational background and you have to share, you have something to share with this community, then you can be your own let's say business owner, and you can do some entrepreneurship activity. You can be self-employed to start with, because so many women come, immigration is from one side, it's continuing to do your career. People come with that goal in mind, but then once they're here, they have also a chance to look into their passions and talents that they were not able to practice in their home country. So here they do basically screening of themselves again. What else can I do? What am I passionate about? And then it could be a journey, women, they create businesses out of need or out of opportunity. So I see these stories on a daily basis, and I see sometimes people come with accounting background, but they go into arts that they never been able to, practice before. So, what I'm trying to say is that once I saw that gap, that professional immigrant women who want to become entrepreneurs, or some of them already managing their businesses successfully here, they still don't know about so many resources that Calgary had to offer.
All the different kind of like anything from like Alberta Innovates or the ATB grants, or there's so many out there. And I can't even name them all because I don't even know everything that's out there. But you've made it a point to become a central hub of that information.
Yes, with that idea, I started with small steps, just literally inviting speakers from businesses and nonprofit organizations that can empower women by knowledge and skills and resources. So that was an idea, and we're still doing that. It's our 5th year this year.
With WeCan.
With WeCan
and
initiative.
What is WeCan's website?
WeCan stands for Women Entrepreneurs of Canada Network. It just came to mind one day, but we realized that it stands both for WeCan, as in we are able to, and at the same time, it's a great acronym.
Yes.
So it is a community movement. It is not a nonprofit organization. It runs as a social enterprise, and if you want to be familiar with what it is, it's you can be a for-profit business, but you can still invest into social cause. That's the model that I have chosen for this organization. It can be the other way around. You can be a nonprofit organization charging some fees for to make the services sustainable. However, because I already manage business with Connect Local and Global, it was more natural for me to have it as a social enterprise. And sometimes at early days, it's actually my revenue streams and Connect Local and Global are supporting WeCan movement, because gatherings, events, my business was sponsoring and supporting this, and until nowadays as well, some part of it, but there are now more people who want to support our cause, and we got this year we had a support from Scotiabank Women's Initiative to support us through the event organizing. So I think I lost.
No, that's okay. So go back to the acronym. What does it stand for?
Yes, it's Women Entrepreneurs of Canada Network, and currently it's a separate page under Connect Local and Global website, which I will share.
It'll all be in the show notes.
Yeah, it will be there.
Okay. When we're looking at this, so I would definitely agree that new Canadians have a much harder kind of road ahead of them to build business, because I know that when you go out and you start a business, this is typically what happens. Is you look at your sphere and you create this pie, right? And you go, okay, I'm going to network or connect my business out through this sphere. And the sphere will have one slice of pie is people you went to school with. Well, that's not there. And then the next sphere is that friends and family. Well, if you came over by yourself, you don't have a very big, so maybe that's not there. Now we're looking down at the pie, and a third of the pie is gone. And then the next sphere is going to be past work relationships. Hey, by the way, guess what? I opened my own business. Well, that's not there. So we start whittling this all down. So now we do have the sphere that's for hobbies and community, right? So, that we could grow, but that's going to take work. Then you have your physical sphere of where you live, and then you have your sphere of faith. That's the typical 6-piece sphere wheel for entrepreneurs, no matter if you're in real estate or if you've opened up a bookkeeping business. Though that is your typical sphere. But so basically, you're having to build a business on 2 slices of pie instead of eating the whole thing. Is that is that kind of a simplistic way of putting it?
It is, and thanks for that analogy. It's very interesting to look at it as a sphere and pie. So usually, what happens is that immigrant women or newcomer women or anyone, any gender, they get to know some people who already immigrated before them. So they are drawn to their ethnic community. And it's a good place to start with. That's where newcomers tend to go because they can still, they're still pretty much in that mindset of their back home culture. And then sometimes those communities can be a good, a jump start. But in other cases, it's not, because when you are just communicating with within your ethnic community or diaspora, you're limiting your connections with different other cultures and Canadian-born people, and you limit your language skill practice. So that's why it's a good start. However, and with WeCan, it was always the case for me to position it as a multicultural hub, as a diverse hub for women, but not only for personal endeavors, but the place where they can find other people, such as mentors, some women who've been already through that journey, or some ecosystem players, some of the organization, like the representatives of the organization who want to help entrepreneurs in general, or women specifically. So you're right. With WeCan, we are trying to fill in some of those gaps that are naturally existing.
Well, and I love how you spoke about, and it is safe. It is safe when you come to a new country to be part of your cultural space. I'm from the States originally, so adopting Thanksgiving in October before Halloween was I know it sounds a little thing, but it's like it's very different. I mean, people globally talk about Americans, how they're loud, right?
I lived there for 5 years.
Okay,
as I mentioned,
Canadians are not.
It's
so
been
it's
been a different culture for me as well. Yeah.
So, but I love how this is not about singling. WeCan is not about for a specific culture or a specific race. It's to help people evolve beyond the silo that can be created, that vacuum.
That's correct.
That can be created when you move, because Canada is not a single cultural. cultural experience. It's a multicultural experience. And who better to expand on that than new Canadians, professionals that have immigrated here to bring their best thinking.
Yeah, that's right. So, and you mentioned being from the U.S. I lived there just for 5 years, but when I moved here, I realized that, not only I need to adjust my back home culture, but now from American culture here, because my business culture was built in the U.S. and in international organizations, yet I had to adjust to Canadian business culture. And
it's very different. I mean, I hear from Canadians. I hear this from Canadians and Americans. I don't hear this from people who are American living in Canada, or Canadians who live in America, or people who have immigrated here. But it's not the 51st state. It is not just America North.
It is unique.
It is very different. And I think that Canada has literally so much opportunity for the emergence of thought leadership and entrepreneurship.
That's right. And just to add to that is that when I talk about multicultural hub, I also would like to emphasize that I always try to find the resources for women and connect them to each other, independent of whether they are newcomers or they have lived here or they have been born here. And that's where the richness comes. And we all know about some of the immigrant serving agencies and some of the great networking events they put. And most of the time, we see that newcomers are connecting to newcomers. However, I think as the concept of mentorship, as the concept of advocacy, as the concept of ambassadorship, all of them are there to empower women and then empowered women to contribute to local economy and social mosaic. So, and it's important for us to connect all of the people and ecosystems that work for that.
Absolutely.
Ultimate impact. So that's why I want to. That's why we are not saying that WeCan is for immigrant women. We say Women Entrepreneurs of Canada Network, and it's on purpose. It's yes, of course, by looking into the who is the most often attendee, you will get the feel of who comes to these events. You will get the feel from the speakers of the events and from the leader, which myself, I am an immigrant woman. However, I want this network to be open and very inclusive. And
I think that's the greatest challenge, but the biggest return is when you can work to create a safe space and comfortability and confidence for both the Canadian woman entrepreneur and the new Canadian female entrepreneur. That they both feel confident that this is a space for them, because there's things that that come from the tenacity and the creativity that we get from our new Canadians is unbelievable, right? And it helps rethink old ideas.
Yeah, it does. But we can't underestimate the role of local Canadians and Indigenous women. We want to build this hub, as we said, multicultural and very inclusive. And we want to include and not exclude. We have the values for WeCan written out, and one of them, E, stands as E3, equity, equality, and empowerment. So, and while I say we want to be very inclusive, I do understand as a social worker in my background that the specific populations and communities are better served by people who were in their shoes.
Yeah, you can relate to them. Absolutely, absolutely.
So, and we want to welcome everyone, and we want to create the space where each woman identifying entrepreneur can find the resources. And we're here to connect the ecosystem. Calgary has a great entrepreneurship ecosystem already. However, it's so much information, and it's not necessarily getting to everyone who should be involved.
So becoming that bridge,
That's
right?
correct.
The resource, the hub. Yeah,
Yes,
the space where people can confidently go to and say, is there something I'm doing this? What are the opportunities? And a lot of times it's cutting through all the red tape. It's just understanding what is out there is a big challenge in itself.
Yeah. So we are trying to eliminate that by working now on the platform, the online platform, where we want to invite all ecosystem players. So they will be within reach. Directly for women entrepreneurs to explain how this or that program works, who is that best for? Because when we are referring people to a certain website, it's just women entrepreneurs don't have so much time because they already need to invest so much time and effort into building their business.
Yeah.
So if we create resources for women entrepreneurs, it's our responsibility to make them accessible. And to make them accessible, we need to be very specific and not send them to generic websites. We need to be answering the questions, who this program is best fit for, and so on.
I heard an amazing woman say once, specificity sells. First of all, I had to learn how to say that word, specificity.
Specificity.
I know, it's one of those words, and it is a real word, and it's very, very important because when you are juggling everything, family, new culture, new business, there's not a lot of time left in the day, let alone brain power. The most important thing that they have is their ability to create, build, manage. And if you're throwing other things at them, they need to be very specific and they need to be clear and concise. And I find that a lot of times, especially like with government stuff, like it's not very clear and concise. So it's great to have, who knew you'd be an interpreter for this, right? Interpreting all these great programs and how they match up.
So entrepreneurs and women entrepreneurs, they need more of the community guides, which we are thinking guides and mentors to be a part of our network. And network is in the name of WeCan because I believe in the power of networking, especially here in Calgary and Canada overall.
Yeah.
The networking opens the doors. Networking helps building your business. However, we also believe in genuine networking, and it's not just transactional connections and counting followers on your LinkedIn, but it's actually knowing people and helping them so they know how to help you as well.
That is, I 110% agree. And we are very fortunate to have a woman of your caliber step up and into that space that has room for improvement, has room for connection. Imagine in a world where everybody has the opportunity to feel they're performing at their highest level, that they're fulfilling their vision, their capacity, what they can bring to make this world just a little bit better.
That will be wonderful. That is the potential, the social and economic potential that Canada should utilize. And this is not just about one person's motivation and empowerment. We are building a country. I mean, we are making this country even greater if we include everyone who came here to make this country better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am so grateful for your time today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Kim. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you for joining us today on the Back to Business podcast. Be sure to visit calpeteclub.com, CALPETECLUB.com, to find out more about upcoming events, networking opportunities, and membership. If you are not already a valued member at the CPC, where we are proudly connecting and supporting Calgary's business leaders.